Justice Scalia used to have a very stern talk with new clerks, and he would say, if you ever leak information now or any point in your lifetime about what happened in this court, I will hunt you down and destroy your career. Jokingly, but only partly jokingly.
That right there, Justice Amy Coney Barrett describing how seriously the Supreme Court takes confidentiality. And according to new reporting from the New York Times, the court is now backing it up with a formal contract. Following a series of leaks, Chief Justice John Roberts asked all Supreme Court employees to sign an NDA promising to keep whatever goes on inside the court a secret. Joining us, New York Times investigative reporter Jodi Kantor. Jodi, good to have you. Why is it necessary to have a non-disclosure agreement?
Well, the court has always had a vow of silence for everybody who works there. The justices make their opinions public, of course. They hold oral arguments in public, but they don't want anything to know. They don't want the public to know the full story of how they decide the law. And so there have been a lot of unusual breaches in recent years. There was, of course, the Dobbs breach. Politico obtained a copy of that decision early and published it. And also, the New York Times has published some stories reporting on what is going on inside the Supreme Court, the deliberations among the justices. At the same time, trust in the court is languishing at a historic low. And the Chief Justice responded by tightening his hold on information.
This tightening of the information, there are two arguments. The one against it says the administration or the court needs to be more transparent, especially right now with all the partisan uproar about decisions and just the skepticism about what's actually going on in that court. But then there's also the argument, the counter-argument, Jodi, and you laid this out well in your piece, that secrecy is needed for justices to have full debates among each other, really honest debates among each other. And it allows for people to be convinced to change their minds. And without that secrecy, putting that out there in the open, people won't have the ability to be as honest as they might be. And they won't want to change their minds. Talk to me about that interesting tension.
It is a tension. So I would say two things. One is that it doesn't have to be all one or all the other. For instance, if you report on a decision as it's being made, there is more of an argument that you're interfering with the deliberative process. Politico had the right to publish what they published. It was newsworthy information. Did it have some impact on what was going on? Maybe. It's hard to know. The question for the court is, why can't we understand what happened after the decision was made? You know, it takes the justices decades and decades and decades to release their papers. We still do not have full access to the papers from Bush v. Gore. So why that kind of blanket, overarching, decades-long secrecy is my question. And then the other thing to remember is that the concern about secrecy and transparency at the court has gone way up recently because of the shadow docket. These are these fast-track emergency decisions that the court makes. And last year, the court made some very important ones concerning President Trump and the scope of his power. They were temporary decisions, but they had massive consequences in Washington and beyond. And on some of those decisions, the court didn't explain itself. It just issued like this tiny little cryptic order that didn't lay out any reasoning. And that was really controversial because the way courts get their authority is by explaining their reasoning. Judges say to us every day, listen, I'm going to explain to you how I arrived at my decision because you may not agree with it, but I want to show you that I did the math and that I arrived at this in a fair way. So with the court unwilling to tell us why it's making some of the big moves it's making, I think a lot of people have a lot more questions and are less willing to to be deferential towards the need for judicial secrecy.
Has anybody gotten an answer from any of the justices or from Chief Justice Roberts about why the shadow docket is not more fully explained, even after the fact or quickly after the fact? Why they think it's okay to issue these, one-sentence rulings? By the way, we got another one of them today, and that's enough to let something stand.
So Justice Barrett, in her recent book, indicated that sometimes when the court doesn't explain itself, it's because it doesn't feel ready to commit to reasoning. So that is one answer. But, she acknowledges in the book that there are costs to operating that way. Oh, and I should say they've lately started to explain themselves a tiny bit more. You can feel them responding to the public frustration over the shadow docket. The other problem with these shadow docket decisions, by the way, is that lower court judges sometimes don't know what to do because the Supreme Court, among many other things, is giving guidance to lower court judges about, what exactly the law is, the shape of it. But with some of these quickie orders, lower court judges have gotten very frustrated saying, I don't know exactly what to do. Like, you got to give me something that helps me do my job here.
Yeah, because they're basing their rulings in law, established law, and when that gets overturned in a one-sentence decision by the Supreme Court without reasoning, then they're left to wonder and to guess how that applies to their daily work. Jody, one more question to you. On the subject of the leak of the Dobbs decision that Politico got, there was an investigation. That investigation turned up nothing. Do we have any idea if the justices themselves were investigated for potentially leaking?
We do, and it's a really interesting answer. The justices were not fully investigated. If you look at the way the clerks and the staff were treated, they were really grilled. It was a very rigorous process. A lot was demanded of them. It was a scary experience to go through that kind of investigation. The justices were treated more lightly. The court described it as something like an iterative process where, the justices were told, if you have any information, please come forward. But they were not subject to the same measures. So then for this story, I went to the court and I said, okay, all these people who work at the Supreme Court had to sign these NDAs. Did the justices have to sign them? And the court would not answer.
All right, Jody Cantor, thank you very much for being with us and bringing us this reporting. Appreciate it. Coming up next, mass layoffs at the Washington Post. What's the Post saying about